the 1953 top set, and the stories behind the men. In this series, I'll be unpacking stories of the men on the cards of the 1953 Topps baseball set. Most cards in the set are called commons by the hobby, but the men on the cards are anything but common. Cards 6 through 10. Sam Jones, card number 6. At age 12, Sam Jones was a state champion marble shooter in West Virginia in 1937, winning $50 and a new bicycle. Sam Jones joined the United States Army Air Corps around 1943. According to various accounts, his enlistment records were lost. Jones began his major league career with the Cleveland Indians in 1951. On May 3, 1952, 39-year-old rookie Quincy Troop, a Negro League veteran, was behind the plate as Jones took the mound. Together, they formed the first African-American battery in American League history. On May 12, 1955, Sam Jones no-hit the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-0 at Wrigley Field, becoming the first African-American in Major League history to pitch a no-hitter. Jones would walk Gene Freese, Preston Ward, and Tom Safal to begin the ninth inning. In high-drama fashion, he would leave the bases loaded by striking out Dick Grote, Roberto Clemente, and Frank Thomas in succession. His last outing in 1959 was on September 26. Jones no-hit the Cardinals through 7 innings, but in the top of the 8th inning, menacing funnel clouds danced over Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Then torrential rain and 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts struck the ballpark. The game was halted, and it went into the books as a no-hitter for Jones. The achievement was retroactively canceled in 1991 when the Major League rule makers decreed that a pitcher had to hurl at least 9 innings to get credit for a no-hitter. So, for 32 years, he was the proud owner of 2 no-hitters. Jones made a very special friend during the 1959 season. 11-year-old Johnny Bushman had moved from an Indian reservation in Montana to San Francisco. Johnny faithfully attended all the Giants games at Seal Stadium, though he didn't always have the 90 cents to get a bleacher seat. The pitcher had noticed the lad, who wore leg braces as a result of polio, on the fringes of the crowd of kids who would gather around Willie Mays. In his quiet way, he made sure that Johnny got tickets and even admitted him to the clubhouse afterwards. "He gave me the ball from his 20th win that year," Bushman once said in an interview. Sam Jones played in 1962 under the cloud of cancer. Radiation treatment was draining, yet Jones still pitched in 30 games, going 2-4 with a 3.65 ERA, making 6 spot starts. The cancer would go into remission, but the neck cancer would return and spread. He entered West Virginia University Hospital in Morgantown on June 1, 1971, and was there off and on for treatment over the next 5 months. By now, Johnny Bushman was a 23-year-old college student. In October, while in San Francisco, Johnny heard announcer Sandy Koufax broadcast that his old friend and hero was gravely ill while watching a Giants game. Remembering all the times that Sam visited him in the hospital, he dropped everything to fly to West Virginia that very night. Johnny Bushman once said, "Sam had done so much for me when I was a boy that in whatever small way I could, I wanted to repay him." It was an emotional reunion for the 2 men in Sam Jones's hospital room. Johnny planned to stay with the Jones family and was there when the end finally came on November 5th. "I brought back the ball he'd given me from his 20th win in 1959, Johnny Bushman reported, "but after Sam passed, then Mary gave it back to me again." Sam Jones died from lung and neck cancer, first diagnosed in 1962 in Morgantown, West Virginia, on November 5, 1971, at the age of 45, just 4 years after he had hung up his spikes. On the left, we have a picture of Quincy Troop and Sam Jones, and underneath that is his team celebrating with him after a no-hitter. Sam Jones was an intimidating pitcher. He was big, 6'4", 200 pounds, threw hard, had a massive sweeping curveball, and could be quite wild. He was nicknamed Toothpick Sam because he always had one in his mouth. He was also nicknamed Sad Sam. Johnny Bushman would go on to earn a law degree, where he would fight for the rights and autonomy of Native Americans across the United States. Johnny Bushman served as chief counsel to the United States Senate Committee on Indian Affairs in the 1990s. Like his hero, Johnny would die of lung cancer in 2019. We all could learn something from this unlikely friendship. Simple acts of kindness could have an impactful impression on someone. That gift could be returned tenfold when one least expects it. Today's players and other notable people in the public eye should be reminded of this story. Consider taking an extra moment to recognize someone, if nothing more than flashing a smile. Bob Borkowski, card number 7. When Bob Borkowski graduated from Dayton High in June 1943, America was engaged in the second full year of World War II. Since he was still 17, he got a job and worked until January 1944. On his 18th birthday, he enlisted at the Great Lakes Naval Training Center. By 1945, Borkowski was stationed with the Navy in Hawaii. Most bases had one or more service teams that played each other and other base teams during the war years. On several occasions, Borkowski played or pitched batting practice for a service team while he was training in Oahu. A scout's son served as an umpire in the Hawaiian League. He referred the right-hander to his father, a Cub Scout named Joe Kernan. Originally signed as a pitcher, Bush, as he was nicknamed, went 18-9 for Elizabethton, but his .384 batting average convinced the Cubs to switch him to the outfield. Although he never earned a regular spot in the majors, he was a quality sub and right-handed pinch hitter, with a knack for hitting Giants and Phillies pitching. Bob Borkowski was widely considered to be positive, hardworking, a good teammate, and made the most of his opportunities. He averaged .251 lifetime during his 6-year Major League career. After the Brooklyn Dodgers optioned him to St. Paul of the AAA American Association in 1955, Borkowski spent 3.5 seasons in the upper minors working for an opportunity to return to the majors. When it became evident that he had no longer had a shot at the big leagues, he retired from the game that he loved and went to work in his hometown. Asked about baseball cards from his era, Bush laughed and said, "I got a set of golf clubs the first year for signing with Topps. Every year you'd get something, like ball gloves and spikes." Borkowski once said, "Not being a star and all, I still hear from quite a few fans. I get maybe 4 to 5 letters a week. I appeared on 4 baseball cards and they seem to find them somehow." Bob Borkowski died on November 18, 2017, at the age of 91. Bob Borkowski was nicknamed Bush. In fact, his entire family was nicknamed Bush. Apparently his neighbors, even his priest, had a difficult time pronouncing his last name, so they shortened it to Bush. On the right, you'll see the 1955 World Series reunion. Starting from the left, Roger Craig. Number 17, Carl Erskine. In the middle there is Bob Borkowski. And I believe that's George Shuba next to him. And lastly, Clem Labine. On the bottom is this 1952 Topps card showing off his .251 lifetime batting average stance. Clem Koshorik, card number 8. He stood 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 165 pounds. He briefly quit the game after he was turned down for a raise in pay by the Tigers farm director Red Rolfe. Koshorik was eventually reinstated by the Tigers. Clem Koshorik was an infielder for 14 years, from 1946 to 1959, 2 in the major leagues and 14 in the minors. He served in the United States Army in World War II. In 1949, while playing for Flint, Michigan, he set the stolen base record for the Central League with 39. An article in the June 1958 issue of Baseball Digest includes Koshorik with other small in stature infielders like Rabbit Marinville, Sparky Adams, Phil Rizzuto, and Frank Scalzi. The writer noted, "These players had to do more to impress baseball scouts." Clem Koshorik died on September 8, 1991, at the age of 66. Clem Koshorik was nicknamed Scooter. His 1952 season was essentially his only season in the majors. In 1953, he would only play in one game and have one plate appearance. On the right is his 1953 Bowman card, which I found interesting that they had to note that he was one of the smallest men in the majors. One of the reasons I've always enjoyed baseball and found it unique is because you don't have to be tall to play. You don't have to be big or fast. Anyone can play baseball if you have the desire and the passion. Joe Collins, card number 9. Joe Collins served in the Naval Air Corps late in 1943, serving in World War II. He returned in time for the 1946 season, playing in the minors. On September 25, 1948, he began his major league career playing for the New York Yankees. He played in 10 major league seasons and 7 World Series, all for the Yankees. He won 6 World Series championships. His last major league game was on September 29, 1957. His contract was traded to Philadelphia for $20,000 at the start of the 1958 season. He chose to retire rather than join Philadelphia because he wanted to be remembered as a Yankee. In 36 postseason games, he hit only .163 with 15 runs, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 10 RBI, and 14 walks. He died in Union Township, Union County, New Jersey, in 1989 at the age of 66. There is a small park there named in his honor. The park is located off of Liberty Avenue, and it also has a memorial plaque honoring him. On the left is a picture of Joe Collins attempting to score. He was injured on the play, receiving a 2-inch gash on his left ankle. Catching in the photo is Ebba St. Clair. I believe the photo was taken during spring training given the small venue, palm trees, and the fact that the Yankees are playing the Braves, who were in the National League. On the right, a picture of Joe Collins standing there with Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and pitcher Vic Ratchie. He was a teammate of both Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. Joe Collins was in public relations for People's Express Trucking in Newark, New Jersey, and he also represented Union Center National Bank in Union. Smoky Burgess, card number 10. At 5'8" and 195 pounds, Smoky Burgess was called roly-poly by the Sporting News. Smoky is so rotund, Edgar Munzel wrote in 1965, that he looks like he ought to be wearing a bar apron and drawing foaming steins in a beer garden. In 1945, he played only 12 games of minor league baseball before he enlisted in the Army at Fort Bragg at the end of May. He missed the rest of the 1945 season and all but the last game in 1946 while he was away in the service. It was also in the service that 2 things took place that shaped the rest of his baseball career. The first was in 1946. As a Jeep driver in Germany, the vehicle Burgess was driving ran off the road and rolled over 3 times, smashing his right arm and throwing shoulder in the process. When he returned to the minors, his arm was so damaged that he could barely throw a ball back to the pitcher, and he was moved from catcher to the outfield. Even after the arm healed enough for him to return to catching, Burgess routinely ranked among the league leaders in stolen bases allowed. The other issue for Burgess was that when he entered the Army, he was a lean man and was not nearly as lean when he left. He was given an assignment as a mail clerk, which he described by saying, "I ate too much and didn't get much exercise. I just handed the boys out their mail." On May 26, 1956, Smoky was the catcher of record when 3 Reds pitchers combined to no-hit the Milwaukee Braves. Smoky became known later in his career as an elite pinch hitter, setting the Major League Baseball career record for career pinch hits with 145. His record of pinch hits was broken by Manny Motto in 1979. In 1966, he set a Major League record, which still stands for the most games in a season, 79, by a non-pitcher who did not score a run. His .295 career batting average ranked him tied for 14th among Major League catchers all time. At the time of his retirement, he held the Major League record for most pinch hits at bats with 507. Lenny Harris now holds the record. His 20 hits in the pitch in 1966 tied the league record set by Ed Coleman in 1936. His 146 pinch hit RBI
are 31 more than any other player, including 6 seasons of 10 or more. In 1965, he drove in 24 runs in a pinch, just one off the single-season record. He held the record for pinch hits with 145 when he retired in 1967. World Series champion with the Pirates in 1960, he hit 333 in the 7-game series. Smoky was a 6-time All-Star. Technically speaking, he's listed with 9 All-Star appearances, but for a short stretch from 1959 to 1962, they played 2 All-Star games each year. And if you made it to the first one, you also made it to the second. Burgess was inducted into the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame in 1975. He was also inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame in 1978. Smoky Burgess died on September 15, 1991, at the age of 64. It is said that Smoky Burgess was a simple man of simple taste who ran a service station back home in North Carolina in the off-season. He neither smoked nor drank and was a devout Baptist who regularly attended services. Burgess ran a car dealership in North Carolina before joining the Atlanta Braves organization. He worked in various capacities for the Braves, serving as a scout, hitting instructor, and minor league coach for more than a decade and helping players such as Bruce Benedict, Rafael Ramirez, and Dale Murphy reach the big leagues. You could wake him up at 3 a.m. on a Christmas morning with 2 inches of snow on the ground, throw him a curve ball, and he'd hit a line drive. Former baseball announcer and fellow catcher Joe Gargiola once said of Smoky Burgess. He signed his first pro contract with the Chicago Cubs at the age of 17 in 1944. After his career was put on hold due to a 2-year stretch in the Army, he made his major league debut in 1949. During an 18-year major league career, Burgess played in 1,691 games, where he walked 477 times and struck out just 270 times. By comparison, in the last 20 years, players that are strikeout leaders in the bigs strike out between 170 times and 200 times in the season. So just imagine, he only struck out 270 times in 18 years. On the right, we have a picture at the bottom right, that is, with Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Danny Murtaugh, Smoky Burgess, and Roberto Clemente. I've got a couple of links I thought I'd share. I'll put these in the description below. They are in reference to Sam Jones and Johnny Bushman. As always, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you've learned a few things just as I did.